So a common question when people do risk assessment is, oh, we don't have any data. We don't have enough data. But that's why you do an assessment. If you had all the data, there will be no need for an assessment because you will have all the information on the table and you can make a quick conclusion. Typically, you assess an event because there are many unknowns. So it's normal when you do risk assessment that you don't have all the data or you have imperfect data sets. And you should not be scared by that, and you should also dare make decision based on that, because you're not going to get more data in most cases. If you get more data later on, you can always revise your risk assessment. The risk assessment is not a static piece of work. It's a work in progress, but you should not wait until you have more data to do an initial rapid risk assessment. You will have often different type of information you can rely on. First of all, you might have information on from the disease surveillance side about an outbreak, laboratory results about the likely cause of their disease. You might also have then, following the initial investigations of these cases, some pointers about the likely source of this outbreak. It comes from an unusual or very specific food, and everybody will remember it, and you can quickly link that food with the outbreak. But in some cases, it might be a very common food that everybody eats all the time, and therefore might be very difficult to pick up which one is the cause of the outbreak. Food investigation is very important, so you don't waste resources trying to test everything for everything. But these will be, over time, two sources of information that will help you investigate your food safety event. You might also receive information from another country where they have done that work and where they tell you, look, you have this product in your country and we know it has been contaminated with this, therefore you have to take action. You can also have a lot of baseline data that will tell you whether what you found in a particular product involved in an outbreak is unusual or common. It could also help your assessment decide whether this is an accident or whether this is potentially an intentional contamination, which is increasingly becoming a big worry for many national agencies, that we are more and more dealing with intentional contaminations, either for economic gain or for political motivations. Back in 2012, the first cases of MERS were reported from Saudi Arabia and the region. In the first months, we received an increasing number of reports of human cases of MERS, but in each case, there was no clear understanding or clear indication of the source of the infections. So we were clearly dealing with a new emerging disease, a new virus we hadn't seen in the past, and we had no clue where it was coming from. We had to slowly start with the basics and try to figure out and find out where the common source was. Here you have to really bring expertise from everywhere, and most probably not from your own environments, but from external sources when you deal with this type of unknown new events. So in that particular case, we knew we were dealing with a new coronavirus. We knew it was from the same family as SARS. And we knew at the time already that these viruses are typically found in bat population. Whether there was an intermediate or another animal source in the middle between humans and potentially the bat was on the other side unknown. So we started to look at a pattern among these cases. What are they commonly coming in contact with in their environments? Are they all exposed to similar animal species, for example, or do they consume particular raw food products of animal origin? Are they traveling to particular places where one might find some particular animals that could be the source? All these questions and investigations were conducted, and that's where you have to really do thorough interview with your cases and having a very broad set of questions, looking at everything possible and usual and unusual, really being neutral and open to any possible source. And then slowly narrow down your theory and your guess of what this could be done. And slowly through that process, we got to the idea that contact with camels was probably a source, and we then started to relate all the other cases to the same point, and then it helped very quickly to really make the link between the dromedary camels and MERS. Yes, that was an interesting event a couple of years ago, starting in Canada, where we had a number of cases of salmonellosis, an unusual salmonellosis serotype. And the investigation was complicated by the fact that we had people in Canada and people also in the US linked to this event. Through the investigation, that particular salmonella contaminants was linked to chia seeds. All the patients had somehow consumed products made of these chia seeds, but it took a long time because it was direct exposure to seeds and sprouted seeds themselves, but also byproduct made out of this, the same batch of seeds. So in retrospect, they were all coming from the same source, but when the initial investigation was done, it looked like it was different products. But it was also complicated by the fact that the products were imported to Canada from Argentina. They were then sprouted and processed in Canada. Then some of these products were re-exported to the US, where they were again used in different products, and people got exposed again to different products there from different brands, from different producers, different packages. So linking all that and making the investigation into the distribution of these contaminated batch was extremely complicated, because it involved these two original countries, but another 20 or some countries where some of this product had been exported to. It was also complicated to go back to the source of the seeds, which was in Argentina. Because in Argentina, the seeds had been produced as not as seed for food, but as seed for agricultural purpose. So in Argentina, that is not under the remit of the National Food Safety Agencies, it is under the remit of the Agriculture Ministry for different, through a different agency, which is not used to test for salmonella, because in agriculture that is not an issue. It's only an issue for human consumption. So being able to link agencies that are not working together on products that are not supposed to be used for human consumption can also add a layer of complication in terms of generating data, ensuring that we're talking about the right source, etc., etc. In a third complication in this event was the fact that the seed had been imported to Canada as organic seeds. But in Argentina, they had never been produced as organic seed. They were produced, again, as normal seeds for agricultural purposes. So again, what you think you know from one side, again, might lock you into a direction in your investigation and your assessment that will turn out to be wrong, because the facts are not matching what you have been told or the type of information you have. So you have also constantly to take that into consideration when doing your assessment, that some of the information you have in front of you might not be the correct information. So if something doesn't fit a picture, don't try to force yourself into wrong conclusion. And if you need to cross-reference or cross-check some data with others, and do that, because it's important to, at the end of the day, to make the right assessment. When you look at this type of events, you need to have the right expertise on board to do your assessment. Because if you find a particular serovar and serotype of salmonella, that will already give you some indication of the potential source. Because some serotype of salmonella are typically linked to poultry or eggs or meat, beef meat or pork meat. So already by knowing the exact type of salmonella you're dealing with, that will give you some pointers on where your investigation should look at. If it's a salmonella that is very commonly found on eggs, for example, that should be your primary concern. Secondly, once a food has been identified, have on board experts about that food processing environment. If you work with sprouted seeds, you know that the seeds doesn't have to be very much contaminated, because the increase in contamination will happen during the sprouting period, where the seeds are kept in very moist, hot environments for several days. And you have to have a good understanding of the agent, you have to have good understanding of the processes involved, and the way the products are consumed, whether they are usually consumed raw, cooked, in season or not. You have to be very open about the limitations you may have. No country will have all the expertise needed for managing all the food safety events. Do not be afraid of reaching out to others for the expertise you need, because you won't have the expertise in your group in 99% of the cases. Another important point is to be fast. Don't wait until you have all the answers, because by that time the event will be over, or it will have turned to a very bad one, and you don't want to be dealing with that one. A third element is to be very open in terms of communicating what you know and what you don't know, the limitation and the uncertainty surrounding your risk assessment. A very good example was in 2010 during the E. coli outbreak in Germany, where the German authorities were a little bit too fast in coming out and linking this outbreak with consumption of cucumber coming from Spain. And there was a need for coming out quickly, and a lot of pressure to coming out quickly with communication and information. But you have to be aware that making the wrong link and the wrong conclusions can have very serious consequences. These are, I think, some of the major key messages to take home.